Unleashing creativity throughout the ranks, how senior leaders can cultivate innovation at every level. Abstract. This article explores how senior managers can cultivate creativity and innovation throughout all levels of their organization. In today's fast-paced business environment, creativity is a strategic imperative for competitive advantage. However, many companies focus creative efforts at the executive level rather than empowering employees at all levels. The article outlines key methods leaders can use to foster a culture where creative thinking flourishes organization-wide. Specifically, leaders must recognize creativity as an innate capacity. Build psychological safety, provide autonomy, nurture curiosity through learning. Reward experimentation, facilitate cross-pollination. And properly equip teams. When senior managers establish these cultural and structural conditions, they can activate untapped creative potential across the entire workforce. Through this distributed approach to innovation, companies gain promising new ideas from diverse sources as well as greater employee engagement and adaptability. In today's fast-paced, disruptive business environment, creativity and innovation are no longer nice-to-haves, they are strategic imperatives for organizations seeking to gain and maintain competitive advantage. Yet for many companies, cultivating new ideas happens primarily at the executive level or within dedicated, skunkworks, teams. While the creative potential of individual contributors and frontline staff remains untapped. This approach misses a huge opportunity. As research shows, breakthrough innovations often originate from unexpected sources. Anthropic. 2021. Therefore, leaders must learn to foster an environment where creative thinking can flourish at all levels of the organization. Today we will explore how senior managers can unleash innovation throughout their teams. Cultivating creativity, preliminary considerations before diving into specific techniques. Some initial reflections are in order. First, creativity should be viewed not as a talent possessed by a gifted few, but as an innate human capacity that can be developed in anyone given the proper encouragement and opportunities. Amabile and Care. 2008. Second, not all creative ideas will succeed. Experimentation and occasional failures must be accepted as part of the process. Third, cultivating creativity is a marathon, not a sprint. Steady, long-term commitment is required to change entrenched mindsets and habits. Scott et al. 2004. With that framing in mind, what concrete actions can organizational leaders take to set the conditions for creativity to emerge across all levels? The following sections outline key recommendations supported by both theory and practice. Recognize creativity's innate value. The first step is a philosophical one. Senior managers must genuinely believe that every employee, regardless of title or function, has creative potential to offer. This means valuing ideas not just for their commercial promise but also for thinking outside the box. As Google discovered in its famous 20% time experiment, letting engineers explore passion sometimes led to major innovations like Gmail. Bok. 2015. To convince teams that creativity is strategically important and that their own ideas matter, leaders must communicate this message clearly and consistently. For example, during strategic planning discussions, explicitly invite frontline perspectives on new growth avenues versus treating it as an executive-level activity. Highlight creativity's role in solving important problems versus assuming the top-down, know-best mindset. Over time, these actions help cultivate an innovation-friendly culture where people feel safe proposing unconventional solutions. Build psychological safety. However, simply telling people creativity is valued means little if the work environment does not feel psychologically safe for idea sharing and questioning the status quo. Edmondson. 2018. Leaders must ensure teams operate with what Google researchers dub psychological safety, a feeling that one will not be embarrassed, punished or resented for admitting errors, asking questions, or offering novel ideas. Project Aristotle, 2016. Some practical steps to build such safety include listening without judgment, acknowledging that mistakes often precede breakthroughs, role modeling admission of imperfect knowledge, avoiding public criticism, and establishing that ideas, not people, are open for debate. Research further shows that diversity enhances psychological safety by exposing teams to a variety of perspectives. Page 2007. Inclusion and fairness should thus be hallmarks of any environment hoping to cultivate widespread innovation. Provide autonomy and flexibility for creativity to emerge. Individuals need discretion over how they work as well as flexibility to refocus when inspiration strikes. Granting employees more autonomy and control over their schedules, projects and work methods conveys trust that unleashes their creative juices. Amabile and Pratt, 2016. It also allows people space to explore ideas without rigid structures impeding flow. Some autonomy-enabling strategies include liberal working from home policies, discretion over portions of work time and budgets, permission for 20% projects, and loosened protocols around processes like budget approvals and procurement. Rotating team members to new functions also sparks creative connections by exposing people to different styles of problem-solving. Sutton, 2002. The goal is to minimize rules wherever possible in favor of trust that empowers independent and divergent thinking. Nurture curiosity through continuous learning. Many studies show curiosity strongly correlates with greater creativity. Rayo et al. 2006. Fostering an ongoing quest for knowledge, whether job-related or in tangential areas of personal interest, keeps minds nimble and receptive to new concepts. Leaders should thus emphasize curiosity's value and provide learning opportunities that feed it. For instance, incorporate mentoring as well as guest speakers from varied industries into meetings. Subsidize online courses and conferences. Allow time for internal skill shares. Maintain a budget for seminars, books, and creative tools. Celebrate personal growth through promotions. And rotate developmental, stretch assignment, roles. Cram, 1985. A culture where learning is encouraged from peers as well as training programs cultivates the kind of open, inquisitive mindsets that spark fresh connections and perspectives. Reward experimentation and calculated risks for individuals to feel motivated proposing new ideas. They need assurance that stretching norms will not be penalized and some failures will be forgiven. Amabile and Kramer, 2011. Leaders must therefore reward experimentation and establish that trying innovative solutions merits recognition, even if results are not immediately successful. This could mean celebrating both absolute wins as well as learning from intelligent fails. Incentivizing the testing of hunches over just completing preset objectives. Spotlighting risks that expanded understanding. Or distributing innovation points employees can spend on exploration. Budgeting time and resources specifically for low-stakes trials also signals it is acceptable to occasionally miss the mark in the pursuit of breakthroughs. Together, these shifts encourage employees at all levels to propose ideas with boldness rather than fear. Facilitate cross-pollination and serendipity. Research proves creativity benefits tremendously from exposure to diverse fields, interactions, and chance encounters. Sutton, 2002. Perry-Smith, 2006. Leaders must thus engineer opportunities where fertilization happens across silos. Rotating personnel to different units stimulates novelty, as does co-locating complementary divisions and fostering casual, watercooler exchanges versus hyperfocus on rigid goals. Basseder, 2004. Travel stipends for internal conferences and off-sites in novel settings spark connections by mixing usual peer networks. Digital tools also bring people together randomly, message boards to pose problems to the whole organization. Internal hackathons where participants rapidly prototype solutions to real challenges. Collaborative workspaces that prompt popping into others' iterations. These strategies embrace serendipity's role in innovation by establishing conditions where sparks can fly from unexpected interfaces. Equip teams with appropriate resources. Finally, if individuals are to generate commercially promising ideas, they require resources aligned to their efforts. Leaders must furnish teams with tools, information access, and mentoring congruent with each initiative's needs. Amabile. 1993. This could mean everything from research licenses and prototyping credits to consulting advice and connections with relevant partners or potential customers. Of equal importance is ensuring resource availability does not become a politicized, top-down, gatekeeping exercise. Fluid processes should enable grassroots projects to tap into communal funds or solicit peer contributions through crowdfunding appeals. Success stories then justify greater investment into particularly promising explorations. By matching means to ends, leaders empower distributed ideation with proper fueling instead of trapping innovative thinking in limited toolboxes. Conclusion: in a complex world where disruptions emerge from any direction, creativity's role in organizational success cannot be overstated. Yet cultivating idea generation cannot happen through executive fiat alone. Leaders must learn to set structural and cultural conditions, empowering people throughout their ranks to propose new solutions and challenge limiting assumptions. By establishing psychological safety, autonomy, continuous learning, risk-taking encouragement, cross-pollination, and aligned resources, senior managers can activate untapped wells of creativity across entire teams. Through this distributed approach to innovation, companies gain not only a flood of promising concepts but also higher engagement. Inclusion and adaptability, key assets in today's business landscape. For any leader serious about future-proofing their organization, activating employees' innate creative capacities should rank among top priorities.